My name is Kimberly Fung. I am a third year studying mechanical engineering at CU Boulder, and I'm the founder of Unmasked the Racism. We are an organization primarily in Boulder County trying to raise awareness about the anti-Asian hate in the United States, and then we are also trying to spread hope to the Asian American community during this time.
We fundraised some money and then we were using that to cater food.
I think food is a great way to learn about the culture. Food is also a great way to learn and get representation when you, for example, can't see it a lot in media. So I think food just is here to stay for sure. So the food kind of just turned out to be like, save Asian restaurants, save Asian businesses. We're raising money, we're gonna buy the food and bring it to healthcare workers to say thank you. So the food stuff was kind of like, oh, we're just gonna have fun and do this and do that. But someone told me that it has to have more meaning behind it. How does it really help the Asian community? And so that was kind of where the mission changed for us when I got that advice. And the mission soon turned into, how can I show that the Asian community is a positive part of our community? So that's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to show that, yes, we are collecting money from people who are of API descent and of not API descent, but we are able to come together for a greater cause, which is support this Asian restaurant, showing that this Asian restaurant is a positive part of our community, and bringing food to everything that we can all agree on, which is helping and supporting our healthcare workers.
And then since COVID started, I have had two sort of weird racial encounters in Boulder. And they were just out on the street. And one, I was walking with my mom, and this group of college-aged, I presume, boys just rolled down their windows and was just yelling, kind of catcalling, but very racial catcalling stuff towards us, and was just super, I don't know, super disconcerting. Especially we were 2 blocks away from my house. We were moving me in that day, and I was just wow, what a fun welcome to the neighborhood up here. And I was that had never happened before. And then just a few weeks after that, I was at the grocery store, and someone, as I was walking in, he was walking out, and he just whispered under his breath, excuse the cursing, he just called me a chink bitch and was get out of the way. And I didn't know what to do, and we were going in opposite directions, so I decided just to ignore it. I thought that would probably be the best course of action. And I don't think I'll ever know if those things would have happened, had it not been for COVID, if I was just kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so at that point, we'd already started Unmasked the Racism, but I had never really thought that it would be something that I would experience. I've grown up with, I think, I grew up in a predominantly white community, but all of my friends and everybody has always been very supportive and pretty, I think, relatively racially aware. But yeah, so those experiences were a little bit shocking to me.
I think at the beginning of the pandemic, back in March, is when I first experienced my first racism encounter. So I was just on the bus going to school, and then a woman sat down next to me, and then she looked over at me, and then she saw that I was Asian, and then she proceeded to pull her scarf over her face because she thought I could have the disease. And it was back when we had only one case in Colorado, so it was pretty wild. It makes me really sad because it's really disheartening, because they're targeting mostly the older Asian American community, because they're more vulnerable.
Even my girlfriend, her grandma was on a bus, and then she got kicked off of the bus just because they weren't comfortable with having an Asian in the bus with all those people. And it's very hard for Asians who don't speak English very well to kind of express that it's not right,
Yeah, earlier this year there was a Thai American who got pushed down. The scene, seeing that the video footage kind of is someone's targeting an older good gentleman that has nothing to do with anything, and just kind of that video kind of broke my heart a little bit, and saying, wow, this is something that everyone should be aware of, and see how we can help about that. Spreading awareness and causing that conversation to start, I think, is the first step.
And that kind of just broke my heart to think you couldn't be in a public space and not be respected for who you were, even if it was a total stranger, So that was really disappointing and really sad to hear. It's more the reason never to let it happen to anyone else. I think, seeing and hearing stories from friends and on the news, it really shows how bad it can get and how important it is to raise awareness about the issue.
I feel it is very important to talk about what's going on with Asian Americans, especially right now, with all of the like crises happening and all the xenophobia.
Definitely like the culture aspect, and also like where my parents came from, because they're both immigrants from Laos. Yeah, I think it's just unique because like all Asian cultures, I mean all different like Asian backgrounds have different cultures, so I think it's really unique to be an Asian American because everyone is so different from each other.
Usually for New Year's, we have some like Japanese friends near our neighborhood who we'll do like, there's the big, like the whole feast, and they'll like make all the food and we'll bring over gifts and stuff, but they cover the food part. And because of COVID, we weren't able to do that. And so, and we also weren't able to see my grandparents, who usually will do like fried shrimp and stuff. My grandma's from the South, so kind of a fusion of like Southern and Japanese food, which might sound strange, but it's like a top-notch combination. Highly recommend. But I decided to like dive in and see like what are kind of like the traditional Japanese foods that you make. And so like on New Year's Eve, I made omisoka soba, which is like a dipping sauce with soba noodles. And it's just like a really light and refreshing meal, and it's super easy. So I've made that I think like 3 times already this semester just because I have all the ingredients for it. And I think like that's been a really big one, because that was something that I was like, Japanese food is relatively easy to make. I think a lot of the dishes are like pretty simple, like clear broths, and just really like springtime kind of freshness and stuff. And I was like, I kind of needed some of that. I feel like that's been kind of a nice way to start off the year.
So I'm Korean, and I love sundubu, which is basically like a spicy tofu soup. That's probably my #1 favorite go-to Korean food, and sushi, of course.
I personally am not the best cook in the world. My mom is. I love her food. And something like I would like to, something more traditional, probably, at least within the region of my mom, with my mom's friend, probably a noodle dish, like beef noodle soup, braised beef noodle soup, and also just like more flour and starch, like steamed buns, dumplings, on those sorts. I think, the taste, the smell, but I feel like the most important part is just the feeling you get, the nostalgic feeling you get, because I feel like every food brings about a memory that you think about. I think, like with those noodle dishes, steamed buns, all those, I remember I still do like help my mom making them and talking to her while making them. So that memory of like that community and family while you're making them, sure, the food tastes just good, but I feel like the memory and the warm feeling you get after making them, having that experience, is what makes it the best, I would say, as well. But I think I would say that all of us wants to continue as much as we can. But the first thing is that all of us are college students, so school comes first, and this is second. But we still want to continue this when we have breaks, summer breaks, stuff like that. So we want to continue this as much as we can and kind of support. And I feel like all of us wants to make this more than just the campaign. I feel like we as a group feel like that campaign is great, but after it kind of dies away, no one's, oh yeah, I heard of that a couple of years ago, but don't really take action or like the things we hope that our campaign will impact. So kind of our lasting goal or impact we would like to make is to make this more than just a social media campaign, but have an actual message of delivered that people can really, wow, I really believe that, and can act on it in the future.
The first step would be raising awareness and saying like, this is not okay, we need to stop this. But then also just like being kind to everyone, not just like Asian Americans, but just everyone in general would be a good step to the healing process.
COVID-19 has shown that we can come together. We have a choice. We can come together as a community, or we can split apart. And I think you should always pick coming together as a community. So I always say like we always end our posts with like, be kind, for example. I think supporting API and all people of color businesses and frequent them, and making sure that they're a valuable part of the culture of your current community is also important. There's so many ways that you can support every person of color community. You just have to go out and really want to be a part of it. You have to go out and want to learn from them too.